So with your nutrition, you feel like God kind of opened your eyes to like, oh, like let's go down this route, or like gave you an excitement and like a hunger to like, oh, I want to research this and understand this.
I was always just praying like, God, please heal my acne, like please, 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 because it's such a deep insecurity, and like I truly believe like God revealed like diet, you know, and like that's the thing, like God gives us strategies to like like combat these like things that aren't from Him, you know, whether that be like obesity or you know like something like acne or like addiction or like God will give us strategies, but like there's also like He can intervene and like completely heal someone. You know, like I believe in that too. I believe in like he can just right now heal my acne like in a day. You know, but like He also gives us strategies, and so that's what I believe He did.
It's what it builds in you, right? Like it's like trust in God and like the obedience, and God's faithful with your obedience.
Exactly. I fully believe that God's will for us it's not really like a straightforward like plan, like you need to go to this college, you need to have this job.
100%.
I think God's will for us is more so with our character. Like He's trying to build our character. It doesn't matter what way we go, as long as like we're glorifying Him in that direction.
That's good.
So Jacob.
Well, what do you want to know?
Jacob put this quad together, and I somehow got in it, and it's been a fun time.
It's been beautiful.
And we've gotten closer since then, and I'm super grateful for it. But I haven't like really listened to your full story. So I know there's been some components. I'll just let you talk about it. So you can go
So I'll start from the beginning. I'll try and keep it quick. But I was born in San Diego. My parents were church planting at the time in Point Loma. So they church planted the Point Loma Vineyard. I got two sisters. So I got an older one and a younger one. And we're super tight. Like, I'm super tight with my family. And my whole extended family, which is amazing. Shout out Tally. She goes here, too. He's got the glasses on.
I was waiting to see if you guys
Hey, yo.
All right, keep going.
So I grew up kind of at that church. So it's a huge church that had a lot of resource and, you know, like had conferences every year and whatever. And, you know, it's a big thing. Went to school there, made great friends. I had a great community. And then I moved to a tiny town called Tehachapi, like 3 days before my freshman year of high school. It's a long story that we can get into another time. But yeah, I mean, my journey to faith isn't like super exciting. You know, kind of me being saved per se isn't super exciting because, you know, I'm a PK and I took my faith seriously from like a young age. Like I remember when I was 3 in a Sunday school class doing your classic, like, I'm a sinner prayer and, like, I need Jesus. And I remember, like, at 3 years old with my cousin remembering, like, praying, okay, Jesus died on the cross for me. And, like, without him, I'd be going to hell. Like, I understood that at 3 years old. But, yeah, it wasn't until, like, much later that my faith became, like, something that I cared about, something that was real.
Okay, cool. So what was that turning point, I guess?
Yeah, so when I've had cancer. So I've battled like terminal illness basically like my whole life, which is a huge part of my story, which I don't get into a lot, but like why not now, you know?
Why not now? Come on, get it.
But yeah, so I was basically born with stage 3 cancer called neuroblastoma, and it's a bad cancer. It's pretty lethal. So yeah, that was rough because my parents were church planting at the time, and you don't make any money. So my dad was working like 3 jobs to make ends meet.
Yeah,
and he actually was working at Costco as a seasonal employee, and the last day he was on payroll, which was covered by insurance, I got diagnosed. Wow. And the way insurance works, at least back then, or with that situation, is the day you get diagnosed, that insurance covers all of your treatments. So without that, my parents would have been like bankrupt.
Oh wow! So that was like a real lifesaver.
Oh, for sure. Cause it was rough. I, as like a little baby, had multiple surgeries, and I did 6 rounds of chemo and went through the whole shebang for a year and a half of treatment, and then was cancer free. But that was all when I was a baby.
Okay.
So by 2, I'm cancer free, but of course I don't remember any of that. So fast forward to being in Anaheim, when I was 5, I relapsed with the same cancer, which is super common for neuroblastoma to relapse.
Really? Do you know how?
Like how I relapsed?
No, well, I guess like how does the cancer come back?
Well, so cancer works basically, there's stages 1 to 4, and then they never say you're quote unquote cancer free. You're just in remission, and then if you get to 5 years post-cancer and you haven't had anything come back up, then it's basically the probability of it coming back is super low.
Okay.
So everyone has cancer cells in their body. That's why I'm learning as like a kines major. It's just how your body deals with it. So I relapsed when I was 5, and it was stage 4, and I remember this very well, which is surprising, but I remember it very, very well. And I was in the doctor's office, got a whole bunch of scans done. I remember the doctors were like trying to save face, and I knew that as a 5-year-old. I knew something was wrong as they walked in. And my parents were crying or whatever. And basically, I didn't know this at the time, but the doctor pulled my dad aside in the hospital, and he was basically like, hey, like, get ready to like prepare your son's funeral. He's got like a month to live. And so, that was rough for the whole fam. And so we basically prepare, like they were going to try and do this surgery to like save me like a couple months. So, I had a couple months left with like family and loved ones. And so we go back in next week, so 7 days later, to do some scans for the testing. And we go in to get a CAT scan done on my neck, because it was a clump about like that big, about like a tennis ball size, like in my back. And we go get a scan done, and completely gone. The entire tumor just...
In a week?
Completely gone, yeah. So
that is insane.
That's
like
insane.
I mean, yeah, we were talking earlier about like there's faithful obedience to God, and He can heal you through that, and sometimes just miraculously, like He's gonna drop in and do it. So yeah, I mean, there's like stories within that too, but yeah, it's basically like the doctor was like, which they're not supposed to do, I guess. They're like, I don't know if you guys are like Christians or you guys are you're faith-based or whatever, but they were like, I've never seen this ever in my life, and this is a miracle. Like, your son should not be alive right now.
This is lit, because I've always wondered when I was gonna hear one of these stories where it's like the doctor didn't see what was gonna happen, because you always hear that on Instagram. So, and I've never actually like talked to anyone like that, but like this is the first time. This is my first time. Let's go.
Well, so
that's fire.
I mean, I really do believe in the power of prayer. Like, it is real. It is 100% real. You're not just praying to something out there. Like, God's listening to you and God's hearing you. So yeah, I was healed of that. Thought I was completely cancer free, and was. So I basically grew up there at that church and got super involved into worship leading, which is like a huge part of my life now, huge part of my life. And yeah, I just grew up falling more and more and more in love with Jesus, and never really went through like a party phase or like anything crazy. I was more of just like just a chill, like I liked surfing, I liked playing basketball and volleyball and hanging with my buds. But I always loved the local church from like the time I was a little kid. And yeah, I mean, my faith was, I was a pastor's kid. Like, I was serious about it, but I was kind of like, yeah, this is just like what you do.
Yeah.
Like, if you're a good human being, you go to church and, like, you pray for people, and like I'm reading my Bible, but like never really ever like hit home with me until I was 18, actually, which is pretty recent. So I was 18. I was having GI issues. Like Aiden was having, like, I was trying to fix my basically gut with food, which I did. But my doctor wanted to check for appendicitis, basically see if I burst my appendix, because a lot of my symptoms were like, it aligns with appendicitis.
Yeah.
So this is during COVID, keep in mind. And so we go, this is in Tehachapi now, so we're done with the OC. We're in Tehachapi. We go to the doctors, get a CT scan, everything's fine, get the results a week later, and they're like, you got a mass in your kidney. And so my parents were like, oh no, like not again, you know, like we just, like you've had two times cancer already, you can't do a third. And I was like, chill guys, there's like, you know, benign cysts and stuff like that, so it could be fine. Sure enough, it's cancer. It's renal cancer. Dang. Yeah. So, I mean,
how old were you?
I was 18. I was 18.
Okay.
So, you know, 3 times having cancer when you're 18 is like, I don't know what the percentages are of that, but it's got to be low. Very like, low. Really low.
Probably.
Yeah.
That's...
So, anyways, long story short with that, God gave me grace to handle that. Like, honestly, I was unfazed. Like, I don't know if that's bad. I don't know if that's bad or not.
I think that's mature.
Yeah, well, it wasn't me. It was, I just felt like when I got that news, I was like, okay, God, like, I've kind of had this whole life of growing up, like, trusting you and knowing you. But it was kind of in that moment when I got, like, that new diagnosis where I was like, all right, like, seriously, like, here's the keys, for, like, lack of a better phrase. And I don't know, man. He just gave me grace that was, like, not from me. You know, I feel like God gives us, like, kind of what we need in each season to get through the season. Mm-hmm. And then we end up learning those lessons that we wouldn't have otherwise learned. Like, I shouldn't have been able to be like, oh, I have cancer for the 3rd time when I'm 18. Like, what the heck, God? Like, I should have been pissed.
Most people would.
Yeah. And, like, you know, my parents were pissed. Like, what the hell, God? Like, why are you letting this happen to our son? But honestly, like, I just felt like peace and grace from God being like, hey, you're going to get through this. So I had surgery, did everything great, and now we're good to go. But I mean, it was kind of until like that diagnosis where I was like, okay, like I could legitimately like die again if this wasn't caught. Oh, I forgot to say, like, basically the cancer I had, the renal cancer I had, it was from the chemo I got when I was a kid. So I had experimental chemo when I was a kid. Ended up getting this cancer, and it's like asymptomatic, so you wouldn't have any symptoms until it would have spread everywhere. Oh, wow. And I would have been done. So honestly, it's a gift in and of itself that I had stomach issues in a weird, twisted way that I had to go get it checked out. That I ended up
the MRI.
Yeah, that ended up kind of saving my life.
Dang.
But I feel that those experiences have kind of given me a unique outlook on life, because I've had the opportunity of 2 times that I remember being like, dang, like I could legitimately die like in a couple of months. And it just really like, it really puts emphasis on the things that are important in life, and like family, friends, and like just seeing God in like every day, because he's there. Yeah. He really is.
A roller coaster of a life, my friend.
Something I noticed too, but like what the enemy meant for evil, God turns to good.
Yep.
Like you don't really see like the goodness in like he battled cancer, which is horrendous, and then like it changes his outlook on life and like how he sees things, and like God saved me from that, you know, and like he had peace about that because he had God in his heart. And then like for me, like why would God give me like terrible acne? But now, like, I'm, like, passionate about diet and, like, wanting to help other people, like, heal their health problems and stuff. And, like, it's like, what
God used it.
Yeah. Like, what the devil, like, wants to, like, turn bad, like, God always flips it on the other end and is like, you know what, let me, like, do this.
I think it's important to mention that, like, God doesn't cause the problems.
No.
But he uses them. Like, he makes... I don't know. You explained it perfectly. I'll just leave it how you just said it. But he uses that to do good, basically.
Yeah.
He uses those bad things, but he doesn't cause those bad things. So.
Yeah.
I think what's interesting about my story, especially with cancer, is, like I mentioned previously, like, I've been, like, worship's, like, one of the main things I do. But that kind of gratitude towards God, or just thankfulness of, like, him saving my life, means that now I can kind of, like, you know, you can approach worship with an opportunity to lead worship with, gosh, God, like, how can I not be in awe of you? Like, you're so gracious.
Yeah.
So I think it's led to, like, more pure of heart worship for me, which is great.
I really love that because worship was such a huge part of my life as well. And that's, I think that's so, like, key for like early on Christians to get to be able to grow, because, you know, approaching worship, you can be like, oh, this is weird, like, people are raising their hands, like, this this feels like a concert. But when you really start to understand that, oh, it's literally, they're just creating a space for you and God to be alone.
Yep.
Like, when you worship, you're not supposed to, when you are able to like, cut out everyone else and just focus on the Lord and really just commit and surrender to the Lord, just you and him, it just grows you in a amazing way.
There's nothing like it.
That's the whole reason. I feel like that's the whole
reason we're here.
To worship and glorify the Lord.
That's the reason we're alive, bro. I mean, like, and
I think music was created. God created music was for that reason.
Yeah. One of my dad's best friends is a monastic monk, a Benedictine monk. So his life completely is consecrated just towards Jesus. Like, he lives at a monastery in the middle of nowhere. One of my favorite things to go is go and, like, observe their chant practices, because they do chant. I don't know if you guys know what that is.
I don't.
But it's like monastic chanting, where it's basically like, if you think of, like, old choirs, it would be like that, but, like, in Latin. And it is so beautiful. I mean, it could not be less flashy, right?
Yeah.
But, man, dude, the presence of God is just, like, thick in the room, and it's like, who doesn't want that? Yeah. You know, who doesn't want to feel the touch of God?
I also think, though, that with worship, everyone worships differently. I've noticed, at least. Whereas some people may be, like, waving flags, or some people may be on the ground, like, on their knees.
Or dancing.
Or dancing. And I think that I've just come to accept that, you know, everyone worships differently.
100%.
Some people may, like, want to stand there and just, like, kind of contemplate them in the Lord, but they don't have to be, like, super out there. But I think my camera is dying, so I think I'm gonna wrap this up.
Yes, sir.
But thank you guys for being on the podcast.
Absolutely.
This was awesome.
I had a lot of fun.
Thanks for having us on, man.
I'm super glad I got you guys out here.
Yeah.
And
we'll do it again.
Let's go.